3 is the future.
Welcome, crew, to Not What Are Your Three, not a Channel 3 podcast where we not take a member of the Channel 3 community. I can't take this bit any further. I think we should have stuck with not Channel 3. And whatever. You know what we do here. I'm Dan. That's Ray. Ray, do the thing.
That's crazy. You just took my lightning from me.
It wasn't even in the notes. It wasn't even in the notes.
Great opening, and you come out, you just take me down like that. I was gonna say tonight's guest.
Cut him down.
Some people know him as Josh, but we know much better that it is in fact not Josh. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. I know we've been gaming buddies for a long time, so it's an honor to be on here.
Do you know you're getting the hallowed 103? 3 and 33 went to Joel.
You are episode 103.
You get 103. We're not doing Joel for 103. He was supposed to be the episode 100 that will never exist, but you're now episode 103. So congrats.
It's a pretty big deal.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
We've got a long list of games here for 103. We went off here, and we're starting off. Let me tell you, finally. Usually every time...
Wait! I gotta cut you off again. What was your bit? What was your bit going to be?
I said it. Everyone knows he's Josh, but we know it's actually not Josh.
That's not even a bit. You're just introducing his gamer tag. I thought you were going to do
it. It was so good.
Thing.
I thought it was that one all day.
That was just introducing his gamer tag.
It was a great introduction, though. All day I was thinking about it, and I was like, "This is perfect." You come in.
I thought you were going to do no, don't you mean not Dan and not Ray? I thought you were going to do that and make a joke of it. Oh,
all you did was just throw not in random places. It didn't even make sense.
That's how the gamer tag came in the first place, honestly.
Let me tell you, you are, as we get into the first game here, usually people are known for one game and then they decide, you know what, don't even want to talk about that. Why would I talk about the game I played the most? And you went the opposite way and said, no, let's start right away. First, you're either your first or second most known game, depending on who you're talking to. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is the ultimate game. But before we talk about it, I have to talk about where does Smash Brothers start for you?
Yeah. So for me, I have a little bit of background in the 64. Played Melee with some buddies. Really loved it. So enjoyed Melee. Didn't play another game until Ultimate came out. So there was a long gap that when it came out, I think, what was that, 2017, 2018, that I was like, all right, let's start playing. Huge roster. Amazing characters. All the IP you could imagine from games, different companies, and everything. So I was hooked right away.
So when you were playing on 64 Melee, you're playing with your friends, did at any point in those games, did you feel like you were playing in some sort of competitive fashion? Or was it like, we're just having fun, there's items in the game, the characters do funny things?
No competitiveness back then. Mainly talking to your buddies, having a good time, hanging out on the weekends, things like that. And that kind of continued with the Melee too. So no, there was no mains. Items were always on. Everything I would hate now is what we were doing back then.
So what happens? What changed? You get this new game, and do you decide like, oh man, I'm kind of good at this game, or like what happens to make that change?
That was basically it. I was like, man, this is a good time. Like, still feels similar, a little bit different, a little smoother now. I really enjoy that. And then I actually found the Dad Gaming group, and I felt like I was competitive with a lot of guys. And I was like, this is great. This is a good time. And I remember specifically going up against a couple folks. Ray was one. Dan was one. The other was Woxty in the first Dad Gaming Smash Bros. Tournament. I felt like I was great. I was bringing Wolf in, coming in hot, ready. And I'm like, oh, random duck hunt. This will be easy. Proceeded to get, I think, 3-stocked into a 2-stock out first round. Thanks for playing. I'm going to go watch YouTube or something and learn how to play this game.
Who's Woxty? Who is Woxty? Who is this?
I will never forget that I was so disgruntled in the chat. And I don't know if it was you, Dan, or somebody else. They're like, oh, yeah, he just joined. He's new. Like, he's played a couple matches with us. Absolutely wiped the floor with me. Didn't feel great. But Waxty learned. He's a member of the group. Great guy as well. So yeah, felt good with that. And then the original battle I had the first season I signed up, I went up against Lazy Pie, who had won the first. Dan, you would know how many seasons in a row did he win?
4.
Yeah, won 4 of them basically. Yeah, ran the table,
which is crazy. So I was like, okay, like that's who I'm matched up with this week, and I was feeling good. And he absolutely destroyed me, like he did everybody else. Switched to Cloud. I think I took a game, and then he proceeded to adapt and just wash me again. So humbled in the Dad Gaming group back in the day.
Quick question for both of you on that note. What is the bigger humbling of Best in My Friend group to Dad Gaming? Is it Mario Kart or is it Smash Brothers where you feel more humbled at just how shellacked you get by, I can smoke everybody I've ever met in real life at this game, and then just get clobbered by the first rando you go against it?
I think for me it was definitely Smash Bros. Because I was like, if my buddies were here, I was here. Like, it was not close. And so I was like king of the castle. I'd talk to people at work. I'm like, oh, you don't want to catch me outside on Smash Bros. You don't know what's going to happen. And then, yeah, you run into Kaminari and you're not having a great time. And then you find out he plays with Joy-Cons and it's even worse. So the cart, also frustrating, but you get the, I at least blame the, you blame the random items, I think, is what I go with. I'm like, oh, I was doing great till I got hit with 3 red shells, four bananas. It has nothing to do with my terrible skill. Yeah, I'd definitely say Smash Bros. That drop off really hurt.
Cart was mine because I knew, like, I had some people who were pretty close with me. I wasn't like the best one in my friend group when I played Smash, but I just didn't know that Cart could be that serious. Like, I remember I joined the card tournament. That was like the first time I played with the group, thinking, oh, I'll just show up. I'm sure I'll do okay. It's Cart. Like yeah, I've played this game, and then the absolute shellacking that I got in that game. I was surprised it happened. I didn't know that Cart did those kind of things.
That is a perfect explanation. I remember joining up Dad Gaming. I was doing Mario Kart races. I was the Sunday night guy.
Shout out to the Slack Packers who made it into the finals.
It felt great. I was like, man, A group final again. This is great. Then you get to A group finals after you Slack pack the entire season and just not
3,
have a great time.
2, 1, go. The results are in. What do you mean the results are in? They just said go.
Yeah, like, and that was Basic was still playing. Greg Ganon Slayer's out there. Mickey's out there. So I was lucky enough. It was before the onslaught of folks that are playing now. So I had a chance to win a couple races. I did eventually move to the Wolfpack, Wolves Den Wolfpack, and still made a couple of Group A's. I think I finished second or third one time. It's probably my claim to fame. But yeah, he just Basics in another world. So that Amazon brain really working.
Okay, I have a third place behind Sneaks and Mick. That's my
honorable.
Right,
that is honorable.
That was my one. That was the 1 month or 2 months that I tried really, really hard. And I had that third place, and I was like, "That's it. I peaked. It's not going to get any better than this."
Yeah, it's very, very honorable. But
so yeah. It's funny. It's funny because I knew Waxy before that tournament, so I think him and I were chatting while it was happening. So I already had known he was kicking my butt left and right already. So I kind of knew going into it. When do you feel like you made that switch and felt like, oh, you know what? Now I've actually improved in Smash Bros. To like a level that I didn't actually know I can get this good at the game.
I think it was really just from grinding matches with the group in the Dad Gaming. So I'm pretty sure if I looked right now, I probably have more matches against Dan and Bombchu than anybody else. There was many nights, some weekends that we would just be on there for hours, just random rooms, and we did everything. We did free for all, we did tag matches, we did 1v1. So it was just a hodgepodge of practicing, and I'm sure Dan, you probably remember some of that. It'd be trading games.
There wasn't much else to do at those times too, especially most of us having little kids. Like, I don't know, just somebody's going to open an arena up, and everybody's going to jump in.
Yeah, and those days were crazy. I mean, COVID.
That was COVID
Um,
time.
yeah, so like it'd be a Saturday afternoon, and Penguin would post an arena on the Facebook group, and then we'd have 8 guys in there in 5 minutes, and just rotate through for hours.
Get a second arena open. Yeah,
That's what it was. I think everyone had a different game that they got really good at during that 2 years when COVID was really just shutting everybody down. Some people went off on Rocket League, and that was the thing. And we had our giant group of Smash Brothers. Some people were racing kart the whole time. Like everyone found a game, and everyone got really good at something during that time.
It was, while the world may have been in shambles in terms of my gaming career, it's probably the best it ever was. So I don't know if that was definitely my gaming prime. Not sure if I'll ever make it back, but definitely the fond memories of gaming. I guess gaming with the boys, just having a good time.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do when because they're gonna announce another Smash Brothers at some point. Or, every time Sakurai wants to pretend that it's not gonna happen. There's going to be one in some way, and I don't know how I'm gonna survive because I play now once in a while. Some little tournament comes up, I take my kid to it, and I'll play around with some random like college kid there. And I need blood pressure medicine after it. My hands are shaking. I was like, I'm too old for this.
It's awful.
I can't handle the stress of this game anymore.
I had the opposite because there was the try hard on Friday, and like, my son was up and everybody else was going to bed. I'm like, hey, you want to play in that? Just like I told him, like, you're gonna get mopped, but you want to play in this just so we can have a little fun. And man, you just get bit by that bug. And it's been the same thing with these seasons going again. I'm like, oh man, it's just. It's a different kind of fun for me, which I also get to like detach from the, fortunately Penguin's kind of handling a lot of stuff, so I can detach myself from the, okay, here's the sign up deadline. Wait, I'm 5 minutes late. I didn't know the signups for net. I don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. So I have a catharsis about the whole thing. But even on Friday, like, I'm playing in there. I got a couple good matches in me, but then you watch the finals of like it's Kaminari and Rad Dad going at it again. And they're going at full reset down to the final stock. I'm like, man, you can't beat this. It doesn't matter. Like the two of them and Kaminari techs off the side where he should have been finished and then comes back and wins. Like you can't beat watching some of this stuff or playing some of this stuff and hanging out with it. Like I've got Bounchu as a teammate now. It's just goofing off and you can't beat it.
I was not happy about that. I told Tiffany, I was like, facing Dan and Bounchu. Going to be a fun match.
Listen, the battle of 500 is perfect.
And like it was going great, and I was like, it's going to be a good time, fun week. And then Dan and Bombju show up and just wrecked me and Ryan Mack, and I was like, man,
it was closer than you're making it sound.
I was like, this is going to be on you because I think Ryan Mack won the first season. Was Ryan who won it? With Brago, because I know Brago won it, and I'm trying to remember who his teammate was.
I think it was them. Yeah.
Ryan is more than pulling his weight. I think I was partnered with him as like the upper tier player, the A player, and the B player, and like they balance each other out. And then it turns out I'm a C player now.
Well, the problem is like Bombshu and I keep trying to point to the other one. I'm like, you must be the A player. Like they gave us 2 C's that must equal an A and a B. Okay, we're good. We got this. But
yeah, so like we went up against Weifu's team a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay, like if we can knock out his partner, maybe we could team up on Weifu. Nah.
Yeah, Weifu's teammate actually jumped off stage 3 times, and Weifu just took us down.
In admirable gameplay. Just get out of my way. I don't want you to accidentally hit me.
Did you always feel like you are for those that don't know, you're one of the people that like to brag about playing random and being able to play all the characters. When did you feel like that you were at a point that you could hit random and play any character?
Really the grind. Random is probably one of my favorite things to do. I feel like it was a good balance of your skill set. You can be great with one character competitively, and like Ray, for example, if you only played Plant, you're still a great Smash Bros. Player.
Attacked right now, but go ahead.
But then you add in the Mario and your other characters, and it's like, you got a lot of different options.
Just don't give me Bayonetta, please.
That's
I
what
still-
I was
I
going
don't
to mention.
Don't
Is,
give me
when you were
Bayonetta.
talking about the Woxy thing earlier, I was going to say I remember that red, white, and blue Mario mopping the floor with me. I'm like, I don't know who this Ray guy is. But
Yeah,
I hope I never
remember.
have
And I
to
was
see
like,
him again in my life.
That's what I thought he was my main character. I was like, yeah, I played
Yeah.
Mario.
yeah, I was like, oh, he's got the American Mario. He's like, it's not American. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, man. Sorry.
That's why I was very
Didn't know you liked
specifically
that.
not saying. I did not say that. I said red, white, and blue Mario. I know.
Yep.
And the same thing. It was the same as Woxy. Woxy's like, this isn't even my main. I haven't even. This isn't even my final form. Like, okay, great.
Yeah. Didn't feel great. But I always just felt like random. It's a great testament of like just your in-game skill. So like whether I'm getting Mario or I'm getting Sephiroth or Wolf, Rob, K. Rool, Incineroar, anything like that, just feels good. And it was also a great excuse that I wasn't as good as like the Kaminari, the Rad Dad, the Wifu. That I'm like, let's go random Penguin and see who's best. So I guess that made me feel better in the end. This kind of turned into a therapy session for me, but at the end of the day, I felt better about myself. So
I'll ask you one last question. What are your thoughts on Steve?
not a big fan of what he has done for the competitive game. Smash Bros is one of the few video games I can watch competitively and enjoy. So like I'm into like some of the drama, like the backstage stuff of like who's rivals with who's matching up good with who. So I could watch those tournaments all weekend. My wife hates. So I hate what he has done in terms of the competitive scene. Is Steve in Elite Smash right now? Yeah. He's actually kind of fun. So competitively, not a big fan, but making the statement of getting Steve from Minecraft into Smash Bros, I think that really just opens up of who else can get in. So you get Sephiroth, Sora. So like you alluded to, there isn't another Smash Bros game that's got to come out eventually. So who's not in that could be in?
Beautiful Joe. That's who. That's
Earthworm Jim.
Beautiful Joe and Rayman. Those are the two. And Steve sucks. I hate
Not-
Steve.
But you have to
I'm
appreciate
with
what
you.
they did
I-
with Steve.
I don't
You have to
first of all, I
appreciate the
don't appreciate it.
mechanics of it.
No, that's what I don't. That's what I don't appreciate. The entire roster, 80, 85, whatever characters, that all have the same goal of generally of moving forward and hitting, and he's the only one who builds his own stage. He plays completely is the opposite of what the other 80 something characters are all trying to do, and he's just doing his own thing.
Okay, but Inkling has
And
to
it's too
refill
good.
its reservoir.
That's about it. Inkling still has to go forward. The whole point, they're going to fight, and he's building a house that you can't get through. And you're in a game where we play on like 5 stages.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's 7 or 8, but stop it. It's like 5.
They're just clones, yeah.
At the end of the day, and then he gets to make his own version of it every single time. I can't stand it. I can't stand anything about him.
Josh just sounds like he needs to get
awful.
good. I don't know what.
I hate it. No, I hate it. And Product Plant sucks against him. That too.
Oh,
That-
I think we figured out the problem here, Dr. Freud.
Can't do anything about it. That's it. That's all I
Yeah,
got.
it's I'm with you on that though, and I can tell you there's nothing more frustrated having a Steve knock you off stage, and then you just get the Steve building block sounds as he's mining. I don't know if you can add that in, Dan, that sound, but like that ting 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 ting, and then he upgrades to metal or gold. Just cha-ching. Doesn't feel great knowing you're coming back just to get your kicked again.
How do you get gold and diamond in the same 3-second window I'm digging?
It's exactly how it goes too. So, and there's been times if I'm like, oh, I'll mess around with Steve, and you get diamond, and you're down to your last stock, you can take 3 stocks in a minute. It's crazy.
All right, well, let's move to your second game, Super Mario Odyssey, 4.7 rated, 4.7 rated game. Just so we obviously Smash Brothers Ultimate. That was obviously going to be number 1. But how'd this one get up here then?
Yeah. So it was probably between this and Mario Wonder of what was going to make the top 3. For me, the next 2 on my list are both more sentimental than anything. So Mario Odyssey, it was probably, in my opinion, my favorite game on the Switch. While Ultimate, I think I get a little bit more on the emotional side of like, that's how I met you guys. That's how I met a lot of the guys that I'm gaming with now is from Smash Bros. So it branched out to Kart, so forth. But Mario Odyssey
as the
was
eulogies for the Switch begin, though.
yeah, no kidding. Man, that is weird timing on this podcast too. It's the end of an era.
That's right.
But so this was a game that I played at home, and me and my wife just really like grinded it out. It was the first game that we 100%ed together. So we collected all the moons, all the special coins, all the outfits. We got it all. Beautifully done. Open world concept. The Cappy mechanics, crazy. All the different things you could do, all the different characters, the different bosses, the brutals, the battles. Then you get to towards the end on the moon, the final level, the final test. Just a crazy thing, no checkpoints, just one single run that I probably spent 10 hours on and eventually made it. But probably good YouTube videos I've watched. And yeah, I'd say that was definitely more sentimental. That was the first game that me and Tiffany, we went through. She'd be there looking up where certain moons are after we had run through the base game. So just trying to get everything. Yeah, that was just a beautifully made all-around game.
This was I'm trying to think of where I want to go next because I have a few questions based on what you said. But the first one's this. So did you at all try the 2-player Cappy situation? Or was it just kind of taking turns back and forth?
I'm not into that kind of torture. So like we've played Overcooked before. Not trying to get divorced. I love my wife. She will tell you she loves video games. She loves to watch video games. She does not enjoy playing it as much as she enjoys like watching me play these games. So like last week we were grinding out well, I guess when I say we're playing, it means I'm playing and she's sitting on the couch watching, pointing things out to me.
Take what you can get.
So we were playing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Great game.
Yeah, and
Great game. I'm here for
it's really
I'm here to
nice
shout
having
that.
like that. Amazing game. Amazing game.
That's got to be
by
a
the
great
way.
couch game.
If you have
Like, that's
PlayStation
got to be a
Plus,
great couch watching game.
yeah, it's cinematic. Like it's your actions have consequences. So the way you react with somebody, you interact with somebody, they could maybe come help you out later.
Yeah, you get that little.
Yeah, so
this
like-
person did not like that. You're
No,
like, oh,
never-
I'm going to pay for that one later. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to
we
Odyssey,
made
back to
Cosmo
Odyssey,
the
sorry.
dog happy. So later, yeah. But no, never tried the Cappy 2-player. It sounds like a great idea. And if me and you were playing a Dan or me and you Ray, where I'm like, oh, I know Dan's gonna cap in the right spot, but I'd be jumping into hot lava and she'd be throwing Cappy into snow somewhere. So we're perfectly content one playering this.
I did it the opposite way. When my son plays, I'll play as Cappy. And basically just clear the path as he goes around.
That's also good. My Gannon has been playing Mario, so he beat Mario Wonder. He was a Yoshi, so but
Yeah, my kid too. Same thing.
hey, but he beat it, so I'm great with that. He is finishing up Mario Odyssey, which is crazy to me. So it just adds more to the game of like, oh man, like we played this years ago when he was still in diapers, not able to run around. Now he's on her Switch Lite playing the same games that we played together years ago. It's awesome.
So this was one of the earlier games for me where, oh, Nintendo hid a second game in here. And you get through the game and you beat Bowser on the moon, and then you find out like, oh no, the dark side of the moon stuff all exists, and you get all the like second half of the moons in the game. What was your reaction to like, oh, I'm not even halfway done this game apparently, even though I just rolled credits on it?
I've never felt worse in my life. Because some of those moon levels are rough. So you're grinding them and you're really going at it. You finally get there, you climb the tower, you're like, oh, did it. And they're like, cool, welcome to the dark side of the moon where you still have 100 moons to go. And you also need to go back and get all of the hidden moons that you didn't even know were in the game. So it sucks, but it was also great because I really wanted to keep playing because it's definitely up there, in my opinion, one of the best games out there.
Well, had you been away from Mario for a while when this came out, or had you like where were you at with this? Because I hadn't played a Mario game, frankly, since probably 64, Now that I think about it.
Wow, Dant. See, this is why I can't stand Dant.
I might be in the Dan boat. I mean, if you have a list of Mario games, I never played Sunshine, never played Odyssey.
I didn't do Sunshine, didn't do Galaxy.
Or not Odyssey,
Sunshine's fine,
Galaxy and Sunshine I never played.
The new Mario Brothers ones I hadn't gotten into in the 3D land, 3D World and 3D Land. I didn't get into until after they were on the Switch, and I hadn't done Mario Maker. So like, you were in the same boat of like you really spent 2 decades away from a Mario. And it's funny because I always jokingly say Mario 64 in my head looks like Mario Odyssey, but when you compare the two and you're like, oh, this is clean.
Yeah. 64 walked so Odyssey could run for sure.
But did you like have an appreciation for that jump, or like what had you been playing in that time in between the two that like you came back to Mario finally?
I would say I probably fell off of the Nintendo train for a little bit, honestly. For a while, Nintendo was putting out a lot of kiddie games, and I was in my teenage angsty years. So I'm like, oh, I'm way too cool for these Nintendo Mario games. I'm going to go play Black Ops 2.
Yeah, the console wars of the aughts were,
hell yeah,
were rough on Nintendo.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'll be honest, like they put out the Wii. I had a Wii. I did Wii bowling, but like you're putting that up against a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox 360 probably at that time, and
yeah, the 360 was
a
out.
teenager early 20? Yeah, so what's a teenager or someone in their early 20s going to gravitate towards? So it is a good appreciation, like looking back, like man, I've played Mario 64, open world Mario. Now here I am, 20 years later, playing open world Mario. So it is nice.
All right, let's talk about your third game because we're going back as far chronologically as I think we're going in this list that you've assembled here. We're going back to Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 4.3 rated on Channel 3. Were you a Sega kid, or like how did Sonic make the list? We had a love letter to Mario as much as there was a time apart makes the heart grow fonder for Mario, sure, but Sonic made the cut here.
So I was definitely a Nintendo kid. I mean, we had a Sega Genesis, so I played Sonic growing up. Hated it because I just want to go. You want to go fast. That's what Sonic does. You want to go fast, and then you get to the chemical plant zone, and you're in the lava every other second. So it's terrible. You're running into the bees, the wasps, everything.
He never goes fast. He never goes fast in these games.
I hate it.
Ray, I'm going to mute you. Listen, there's a reason I assigned this game to me for this conversation here.
He doesn't go fast.
Josh, continue on. Just ignore him. Keep going. Just power through it.
Yeah. So about a year or two ago, when they added Sega to the Nintendo Switch Online, my son Gannon wanted to play Sonic, and he was obsessed with it. He's still obsessed with it. He'll still play it. Loves the movies. Loves all of it. But this was the first game that he was playing by himself, and he said, "Hey, Dad, can you help me?" And so for me, that stuck with me. So we did that. I'd help him out. Nintendo Online has that great feature where you can save it mid-level. So we would get past a difficult part. I'm like, cool. Double trigger, save. I'm not trying to go through all these Eggman battles again. So we eventually finished it. And the joy that it brought to him is just something that's resonated with me that I don't know if you can make up for that in any other game.
Were you Tails helping him out, or were you just kind of like, hey, Dad's going to step in here, take care of this one stupid jump that occurs? Which was it?
Yeah, I would just step in. He'd hand me the controller, just hop in and take care of it. And then after we finished, we created a separate little account on the online save. And then there is a code you can put in to make him Super Sonic, right? Super Sonic, right? Returns gold if you get 50 coins. And so I did this. Like, all right, buddy, here you go get coins. And then he turned into Super Sonic, screamed. Like,
what a moment that is, though.
Never seen a kid more excited in my life. You would have thought Sonic was in my house. Like, just screamed. And he's flying around fighting Eggman. But he's obsessed with all the YouTube videos about Sonic and Mario, too. So, like, we'd get to a part, and he's like, oh, no, you got to fight this boss this way. And I'm like, what? Sure, it works out. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever you say, just tell me where to go.
You officially started getting grayer hairs at that point? Is that like put you in a home and that's it at that point? You're done? You're toast? You're cooked?
Yeah, I'm cooked. So yeah, that I would say the sentimental between Odyssey and Sonic 2, more family related and selfishly, both great games, as I'm sure the reviews on C3 show. But for me personally, that's why they're high on my list. Is just the emotional impact I got out of them were amazing.
Has he gone? Did you take him to the movies, or did you take him to C3? To C number 3, I should say.
Yeah. So he is. I think we've seen all 3 in theaters.
Right? By the second one, he got to do the DiCaprio meme of the Chaos Emeralds and all the Supersonic coming out. He was right there for it.
Yeah. So he anything Sonic he loves. So back in last year sometime, I think it was August or October, we went and saw in Chicago, they have a traveling symphony for the Sonic music. So it's a heavy metal band with an orchestra. So the first half is the orchestra plays music from the games. So if you want to hear Casino Night, Chemical Plant, Emerald, anything like that, they just play it with the video game playing in the background. The second half, they do an intermission. They come back. Heavy metal band comes out. I had no idea Sonic music went this hard, and it is wild. Some of my favorite songs now, Sonic music. It's crazy. So All Hail Shadow is an all-time banger in my eyes. So if you haven't heard it after this podcast, check it out. It's
that one up.
All Hail Shadow, or Escape the City. I Am. What is it? The Pumpkin Hill Rap. So many good ones. So 10 out of 10, though. I know Penguin will push the Donkey Kong music. I'm here to push Sonic music. So
it's all good all around. How do you handle the water levels? Because like I think Sonic, I was trying to think about this. Like immediately I just thought about it and I wrote down: does Sonic have the worst water levels in gaming? Like you talked about the chemical zone, and like that one's terrible because it's got like those little square platforms moving around that it feels like the hitboxes just don't work right for them,
and they squish you. You drown.
Oh yeah, they crush you too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then there's other levels. I think one of them where you're underwater, they have bubbles that you can get, which is nice. But they're perfectly spaced that if you miss one jump, you're dead. So he surprisingly well. He's something in his brain. He understands patterns and things. So he was playing Donkey Kong the other day, the old Donkey Kong. And I always tell him in everything, I'm like, hey man, all about timing. So all you got to focus on every video game you come to, all about timing. And so I don't know how he sees whatever algorithm's going on or whatever movement that there is, but he understands it and he's able to move efficiently with it, which is better than me.
They're built better for it now than we were. They
100%.
Program for them now. Did he? The other thing I was going to ask you: has he played Sonic Mania then?
Yes, and anything Sonic he loves.
It's all in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sonic Mania, Sonic Plus. Sonic and Knuckles. I have an arcade. You might be able to. I don't know if you can see
camera attempting to drift over to the arcade machine in the corner.
The arcade over there. Now my camera's messed up. But we've modded it, so it's got all Sonic games. It's got Street Fighter. It's got all the goodies. So, like over 1,000 games. So anything you could think of from your childhood, it's on there. So thousands of games, and he's like, yeah, cool. Let's play Sonic and Knuckles. So,
but you don't get the same experience unless you got to strap like 3 cartridges on top of each other. You got to show him that picture of just like, here's a Sega Genesis, like fully modded out with a 32X, the Game Genie, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3 on top of that. You got to get that monstrosity put together there.
Yeah, man, I forgot about the Game Genie, the Game Shark. I forgot all that till you just said that.
Oh yeah, you gotta get the just Google a picture of like a fully stacked Sega Genesis.
Taller than him at that point.
Son, you're gonna hit puberty early when I show you this one. Let me show you this stacked up Sega Genesis.
You want to know what the '90s were like? Look at this.
Let me tell you about Sega Cable, son. Let me tell you what that was all about. All right, well let's continue some platforming conversations. We're moving over to your honorable mentions. Normally, I'd say 1 to 3 extra games that didn't quite make the cut here, but yeah, you decide to do what you want. You know, hey, we're hanging out. We're good with it tonight. Well, sorry, everybody else is going to try this that we shut down and say no, but Josh gets to get away with that.
That's true.
But first up, you've got the 4.6 rated Game of the Year Astrobot. So we're continuing a platforming journey, but now in 2024's version of it.
So this past Christmas, we got Ganon PlayStation 5. and it has turned into a family PlayStation 5. And for those of you that have played Astrobat, you'll understand it's the perfect game for all ages. There's no lives, so you're not limited on lives. The enemies, easy, but also they change up throughout the game, so they are a little bit difficult.
And they one hit you too, just for clarity. Like,
oh yeah,
one hit, you're done. Yeah.
So when you get their patterns down, the different ways that you do have to beat them, it's amazing. Some levels, if you want to collect all the bots, that's fine. If you don't want to collect them, if you just want to run through like my son, perfectly fine. What really got me was some of the levels based around the shapes. So the triangles, the circles, the squares, the X's, and that final challenge. Like the difficulty of those levels compared to the main storyline, you would have thought you're playing Dark Souls. You go from like, oh, I'm jumping around, I'm a little bot, to I got to jump, dive, punch all at the same time while not getting hit with this guy swinging around a giant skull on a chain.
And the glass is shattering underneath of you, and there's nothing underneath you when you do it too.
Man. Yeah,
I say
similar to
Odyssey,
like,
I just started cracking it. My son is now beaten it 3 times, and he just finished his second 100%ing of the game. So like, no, I get it. You're about to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
It's great, and then, no, you're good. Just similar to Odyssey, at the end of the game, there's the one level that you bring everything you learned. So all the moves, tricks, enemies you face, and it all comes into one. 0 checkpoints. So I probably have bruised thighs from punching myself after getting 3/4 of the way through. You really grind it out. You get to a certain point, you're like, oh, cool, we're good. And then something jumps out of nowhere, gets you. Start all over. So you're grinding to checkpoints in your mind, basically, where I'm like, okay, I could speed run to this point. Then I got to slow down, think about it. And like you said, while the glass is collapsing underneath you, the purple and green guys are spitting acid at you. So it's a great balance for everybody. So I get why it was such a highly rated game and well received.
How did he handle the controller? Because this is a game, the original use of this, on the PlayStation 4 they had an Astro's Playroom, but at PlayStation 5 they have Astro's Playroom as a demo for the controller and all that it can do. And the first time the controller yipped at him and started talking to him, and like you get the haptic controls that are like pushing the trigger buttons back at you, like how did he handle all of that?
No issues at all. You know who had a problem with it? Me.
Old man Josh. Back in my day, my controller had 2 buttons and it didn't yell at me.
Yeah. Exactly. The controller's yelling at me. I'm like, brother, I'm just trying to jump on these bots right now. Come on now.
Well, back in my day, we blew on cartridges, not in controllers. What is this? Why am I blowing into this controller?
Yeah, like he didn't have a problem with it, but it threw me off for sure. And I was like, man, these controllers are expensive, because I was like, oh, we'll just get a couple of them, we'll be good. Like we have like 5 Switch Pro controllers, like $50-$60. Now these are like $75-$80. I'm like, oh but then I think Astrobot's the perfect PlayStation game because it pulls everything in. Like you get the touching, you get the blowing. This is going the wrong way. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of words there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just roll through. If I don't have the censor, if you just roll through it, okay? Just keep going.
Yeah, the touching and the blowing is really what got me.
There you go.
It's gentle caressing of the touchpad. Don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, just like the full interaction of it. So for me, it was a great introduction to PlayStation and everything it has to offer, because I probably haven't had a console since PS3. So it's been a hot minute. So just seeing like that jump in technology and visuals, it's beautiful to watch. Like amazing all around.
They pulled the Mario Odyssey card where they like de-resed and made a PlayStation 1 Astrobot level. Like there is stuff like, oh, we made a PlayStation 1 Astrobot game in the middle of this. They de-resed it. I mean, you having had the 3 though, like there's a huge history of PlayStation just hidden in this game, and it's 322 bots that are hiding throughout these levels. And like you've got a level where you have to play Horizon, a level where you're playing God of War, you've got a level where you're playing Uncharted. Like all this stuff is there that like my son's asking me what every one of those like not the random like Astrobot, but he's like, what are these? I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And I look it up, like it's some Japanese only puzzle game that was out there. I learned something today. I didn't even know what this one was.
A lot of deep cuts. I thought the monkeys were Super Monkey Ball. Turns out it's Ape Escape. So shame on me. I was like, man, I didn't even think of it.
Yeah, a game that they haven't touched in 30 years. Seriously, like, oh, it might be fun if they did another Ape Escape also, but I forgot Ape Escape existed until this game.
Exactly. But yeah, so like those specialty levels, though, that's really what it hits that nostalgia where I'm like, oh, I played God of War. I know what this is. So you get the specialty where the Horizon level where you got the bow and arrow, the Uncharted with the gun, you get the axe and God of War. So just everything combined, it's crazy good.
I will just say, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I will just say, if anybody wants to see just an epic love letter to PlayStation, go watch the final level. Not the final. This might, much like another game in your honorable mentions, has the final level you mentioned that is just built for suffering and replaying. But the final boss of the game just goes through everything PlayStation has had to offer in the last 30 years. And it's really cool just watching it. So just take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I not to put words in your mouth, like this game just brings a joy that I think other games somehow, I don't know how they did this. Like they just brought joy into a game, and Black Myth Wukong can suck it. And like, that's great. You guys have another Souls like or whatever, your Monkey Man running around. But like, no, this is different. This is, let them get Game of the Year here. You can take Black Myth Wukong somewhere else, and Lies of P and Dark Souls and like every other game that came before that's just like this. Like, this is different than some of that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Game of the Year situation for this now that you've played it?
Did it win? It won, right?
Mm-hmm.
It won, contrary to some internet bots complaints and some internet bros who were upset that the latest Dark Souls iteration didn't win.
Yeah. No, I think you summed it up good though. Like the enjoyment you get from it, while it's still being a game you can't just walk through. You have to pay attention. I'd say minimal stress for the most part. Like you can walk through pretty nonchalantly, avoid enemies if you want to avoid them altogether. But visually, amazing. The gameplay, amazing. It really brings everything the PlayStation has to offer into one world. You throw the nostalgia on top of it, like you said. The bots, I think I recognize some of them. I know Snake's in there, Joker, Kratos, his son. So everything like that, compared to Monkey Man fighting the Tiger King, not really a competition for me.
And I will say, as someone who's been fervently and vocally against collectathons, those 322 bots, they're not painful to collect. The puzzle pieces are not painful to collect in this game. Like they're not all right in your face, but like if you've played platformers, you know what you're looking for to find them.
Yeah. Oh, there's a path this way I'm not supposed to go. That and I was a big fan of the bird that will lead you, that you can purchase for 200 coins if you're going to replay a level. That'll give you hints and it'll point you in the right direction if you can't figure it out.
And my last thought on Astrobot, just if you could help me talk to Ray. You know, he's been dependent, aside from the Bloodborne bros who just waiting for that one to come to PlayStation for the last decade and just can't understand it's not going to happen. I just keep trying to explain to Ray there's no way for this physically possibly to go on PC. Besides, like the fact that you're assembling PlayStation, living PlayStation history. Can you explain to him that like DualSense is not going to translate for this? I'm sorry.
No, it really wouldn't. And I built my computer probably 7 years ago. So I've been PC Master Race for a long time until we got this PlayStation. Now it's all I play for the most part. I'll hop on the computer for I'm going to do Fortnite or Rivals or a shooter, but like, man, the PlayStation, it's a system. And Astrobot, the way it brings everything together, like everything it has to offer, it'll go down is definitely probably one of the best PlayStation games of all time. I would say it's probably their staple franchise moving forward.
Enjoy your time with Guardians and get to Spider-Man after that. So Guardians was an unexpected blast for me, and I shout that from the treetops just because I feel like the Avengers debacle caused that one to go.
The Avengers hurt them.
Yeah,
hurt that whole cast a whole bunch.
that Guardians game didn't get deserved to get shrapnel from that and get caught in the wake.
No, that's the story. Guardians almost made this list, honestly, because the story is one of the best stories I can recall in a game. But just the story that it has with the narrative of friends, family, and things like that, it deserves the praise.
All right, back to multiplayer. We talked about it a little bit here, but Mario Kart 8, probably the other game that you're known for in the other community. So tell us about Mario Kart. Why do you enjoy it so much?
For me, it really is the camaraderie, talking with the group. So with kart gangs, meeting different folks in kart gangs that I didn't know, playing with them. I think kart, along with Smash Bros, is where I've made probably my most gaming friends. As a Waluigi lover, finding out that he was the meta in competitive racing, it really got to my heart for a while. But then the contrarian in me had to move on to Shy Guy, who I also love. But yeah,
there's nothing worse than looking at an array of 12 Waluigis in a course. It was the worst.
Yeah, trying to have fun, and then you just see 12 Waluigis and on biddy buggies ready to ruin your night.
I'm gonna end up on a watch list just for being in the same lobby as 12 Waluigis.
And let me tell you, this whole they the new balance and whatnot. It doesn't make it better if I see 12 Yoshis either. In a thing too.
And while I am competitive, I am very big on play what you enjoy. So that's why I instantly get Waluigi. Like, I've been a Waluigi supporter for years, Wario supporter, Shy Guy supporter, any villain really in the Mario franchise I'm a big fan of. So I was like, oh, awesome, Waluigi. Then I'm like, oh man, he's top tier. I need to
Everyone's
yeah, I was like, I need to do something different. So for everyone that just mains people for the stats, you, just for the record. Throw that out there.
That's why I drive around with Petey Piranha and his giant head covering up half the screen. Like, how do you see? I don't know. I just feel it. And I end up in 6th place, so we call it a day.
The Wiggler on Wiggler action or whatever's going on these days. Yeah, I'm for all that.
Oh, man. What's your favorite course and what's the worst course?
Yeah, so my favorite course is 200cc Big Blue.
What a monster! Oh, because you jump and skip a third of the course.
Yeah, so I was big on grinding basics time trials, and that one I think was probably my best. And it's definitely the most fun, probably the most fun course on 200cc, because if you do get those NISCs, as Basic would say, the no item shortcut, like you said, you take away a third of the track, so it's a great feeling. And competitively, it's fun too, because even if you're doing 150, there's still a little bit you can cut off. So if you have that advantage over folks, it's really good. Worst, not a big Excite Bike guy. I would take Baby Park over Excite Bike. Yeah, that or the Grumble Volcano Dan. Yeah, I didn't like the Dry Bones for a long time until the Dry came out from Hana. So that was a good change. That was a Kart Gangs night.
Shout out to that making awesome games done quick last week, by the way. They had to get that one on the broadcast nationally.
I want to say, I know I was on a kart team. I think it was Hana.
Are you the team that picked it 12 times in a row?
Yeah, it was Hana and Jedi, I think, were on the team. I don't remember who else, so I'm sorry. But I
feel like I was in there because who was losing there? Was Basic? Was it against Basic's team?
I wasn't there, but somebody was very upset about it.
Mamba was very vocal that he hated Dry Bones track.
Like, and Basic lost his mind one time we did something like that against him.
Yeah, the Toad Harbor for him. But I think Hana said we're going to dry bone him, and then we just became the Dry Bone, and it's a fond memory. But things like that, like I feel like I kind of grew with the kart gang, so we did each team's in their own voice chat. I think we did a season or maybe 2 where some teams would get in the same voice chat against the team they're playing. So it really just came a lot of talking and people hanging out, having a good time on a Thursday night.
Kart gang was the only reason I got any good at kart, because I got Mickey. The first season I played was the regionals, and I happened to live near Mick, so I had him as coach. I had him with my captain the first season, then I had Ganon in my second season. The only reason I learned how to play cart. The two of them basically taught me everything.
Yeah, and I do love the Smash Bros. Guys and the community we have, but the folks in the Mario Kart group are all
Fun.
stand up guys,
Also,
and they're all
older
great
and
guys.
funnier.
100%. So you get Mickey, Greg, Hannah, the Teats Bros. You got Teats and Bits, Jedi, like all the OGs from the group. Mamba, like big fan of all those guys, and they've always been kind. And yeah, they'll tell you exactly what you're doing wrong too, and they'll show you how to either get good or get out.
I just played golf before, and a lot of that group is the same. So I just sat in a voice chat, listened to them chat as they played golf, and it's just a nice time to play for an hour.
Yeah, all solid guys.
And all right, other side of the multiplayer, you've got Fortnite. How long have you been playing Fortnite?
Not very long. So I have a weird thing where I'll play a game and then I'm obsessed. So that's the only game I'll play. So for a while it was Smash Bros. For a while it was Mario Kart, and then it became Fortnite. Rocket League for a little bit too. Fortnite, I don't remember what season. It was the Ooze season, the Chrome season.
Chrome.
So I love the Chrome. Like for me, that was my favorite season. So whenever that was, a couple of years, Chicken Bromain messaged me and was like, "Hey, after Cart, me and a buddy are gonna hop on Fortnite." And I was like, "I'm not 8 years old, so I'm not doing that." And he's like, "Nah, man, like you don't got to build or anything now." And I was like, "Okay." So it was right around Zero Build started, and so like I was working second shift, so we would stay up till like 3-4 in the morning. I'm in Central Time. The boys I was playing with are in Eastern Time, so they were an hour ahead. I'd be dozing off. They're like, "Don't be a grab another beer." I'm like, "All right, man." So that was probably just long nights gaming, talking with friends, and just having a good time, more than the game. So just the conversations. And you find out as you go along, Ray plays Fortnite, Chevy Nova plays Fortnite. So it's just really cool. So I've played Fortnite with a handful of folks. I played with Froggy and the Mario Kart guys. So just, yeah, the reach it has is impressive. So I like it. I haven't been playing since Marvel Rivals came out.
Yeah, me either.
So sorry to my Fortnite buddies that are out there grinding. I'm on the.
You understand? It's like
Marvel
Overwatch,
Rivals.
but it's good with Marvel characters. You don't want none of this, Dewey. You don't want none of this.
Let me tell you, I still don't know, because I enjoy to watch. Like I play, I don't know why I enjoy Rivals so much more, but I know I do. Like
I'm with that 100%. I don't know if it's the character, like how accurate I feel like they are. It's just good. Like all around, it's smooth, balanced. I think it's probably a good way to put it too.
Very balanced.
Like there's never a point where I feel like I'm completely outmatched in terms of character. Definitely skill. That's easy to do against me. But in terms of like character, I feel like it's a fair shot no matter what your team comp is. You have a fair shot.
Well, as mentioned, we normally say, hey, 1 to 3 honorable mentions, and Josh took a few extra, and then in addition to take a few extra, he said, I want the entire Tony Hawk series. So
it's a good series.
Let's start with it. Yeah, so go ahead. So Tony Hawk, go off.
Yeah, so when I think of early days of gaming, I just think skateboarding in a warehouse, collecting videotapes. And then you get to the games where you're I think 2, you're at the school, you're on a boat, you get to underground, and there's more mission based instead of just skating around. And then I don't know, I like to think I was an edgy kid. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like Bucky Lassick, the skateboarder. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm Bob Burnquist. Get out of here. So things like that. And then they added some cool DLC later on in the series. So you got Spider-Man, Yoda, things like that were just awesome. But mainly, and my wife that looked at my list before I sent it, she goes, "Are you going to mention that it got you into ska music?" And I said, "It's not a phase. Everybody's into ska music." And she said, "Well, not everybody has a ska Pandora channel." And I said, "Well, that might be true, but they're just not up to date yet on it." So, yeah, anything ska alone makes the Tony Hawk series great.
So I'm going to ask on that question, what's your go-to track?
Yeah, Superman by Goldfinger for sure.
You
I know that was.
remember how I mentioned before the podcast that there was going to be a moment where I called you a basic. This is it.
There it
This
is.
This is the moment.
And I'm okay with that. I know there was the quest recently about the best. I think it was the best Tony Hawk song, and I know Ray had a good one. You had a rap.
I
forgot
forget
what it was.
I forget the name of it too.
There are so many. It doesn't matter. There's so many good
I
ones.
have to look
Yeah.
it up every time. I just know I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean they got NWA is on there. What's another? Express Yourself's on there. Like just banger after banger after banger. But so like when I have a hard day at work, I'm like, you know what would be good? Like some punk rock music with a trumpet. So if that doesn't brighten up your day, but yeah, so it really like
Can't wait
the
till
games
Gannon comes up and says, "Daddy, what's ska?" Sit down.
Yeah,
son.
yeah.
Let's have a
What's real
conversation.
big? Who is real big fish? Like I'm ready for that conversation whenever it happens. So, but yeah, other than the fun gameplay and like hanging out with your buddies, putting in cheat codes and doing perfect grinding for 3 hours around a bowl. Yeah, the memories I think of that one are just they're up there.
So was that a game where you did you play with other folks because you could do the 2-player, you could do the competitions, you could do the head to head?
Yeah. So I'd be with some of my buddies, and we'd switch off, take turns sometimes in the story mode, or we would do the score mode against each other. So a wide variety of things. I fell off towards the end, but when they re-released the 1 and 2 remastered, instant purchase. So
Did you get that for the Switch?
yeah.
You might need to, now you got the PS5. I'm just gonna tell you now, you probably need to put that on a wish list and make an upgrade.
It kind of felt like I was still playing on like on an N64, which was nice. So similar graphics and playing.
Yeah, that is a worthy PS5 upgrade. Just for, you can pop that on the wish list and they tell you it's there, or you go to a GameStop and they got it for $10. Just make it happen.
I'm for that.
My last question. You mentioned the guest characters. Just who was the best guest character? I mean, Darth Maul. You mentioned Spider-Man was in there. Darth Maul was in there. There were some wild ones that they just had. Like, oh, we're gonna throw this character into Tony Hawk. The epitome of pop culture in 2002.
I did enjoy the Darth Maul. I want to say he was good, and I think there was a game they added. Maybe they added Bam before he got too big. Bam Margera. I'm sure you being from PA he's a celebrity out there.
Yeah, Westchester's finest. Yes.
Oh.
His parents are as celebrity as he is out there, so that's an entire other conversation.
That's fair, but yeah, I would say probably either the Darth Maul. That was probably the biggest. Like, oh man, we got a Star Wars character in Tony Hawk. That was probably my first dive into like the cross branding of games and another entertainment form.
Little do we know how far Activision would go.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, last one we'll mention. We've talked about Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and you've got it on the list here. Is it on the list because it's another one that your son plays a lot, or like is it also like you just played this a bunch and really enjoyed it?
I also played it a lot and really enjoyed it. He does love it, and he still plays it from time to time. He does that. He does the Mario Maker 2, loves it. But for me, it was a perfect balance of nostalgia of an older Mario game, coupled with new technology. So the new features they have, where you could turn into, what do they have? They have an elephant, Spike. There's so many different things you could turn into. All the power ups. A lot of the special levels were fun too. Where the Wonder levels towards the end, where you have to complete them. The rolling spike ball one, where you're jumping off of trampolines, is crazy. So just a kind of like Astrobot, a great balance of fun, but then some difficulty sprinkled in there if you're trying to find it.
Were you upset or not bothered with the fact that the characters no longer have like their own special abilities?
It does bother me. Any game that Peach cannot float and Luigi does not have his little his big jump, I guess.
His high jump, yeah.
Yeah, like anytime you don't have that, or where Toad's not faster than everybody, yeah, it does. It hurts a little bit inside. Yeah.
I was like, it is amazing that those things are such staples to the Mario Brother world, and all of them come from the game that everyone looks at as like one of the worst ones. They all come from a skinned over Japanese game, Super Mario Brothers 2. But somehow the game that everyone looks down on as like the worst of the first three is the one that you like. How dare you take away the stuff that the game gave us? It's very odd those two things go together. Like Birdo's around.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not an anti Super Mario 2. I enjoy it, but yeah, it does hurt because I don't know. Back playing that, I'm like, oh look, I'm Luigi. I can jump way higher. Oh, Peach, I could float over this big gap because I missed the magic carpet.
Yes.
Yeah, things like that. That you get in and I'm like, oh cool, I'll play Peach here. She'll just float across, and it's like, sorry, you're dumb. But I really enjoyed the I guess the fun factor for all ages of where they add the Yoshi or the Nabbit. So like my son can run through the game, not get hurt. Doesn't get the boost, but just you're able to enjoy the game, which is awesome.
Did you beat the final level?
That one I did. Not fun. None of the games with final levels after you're like, oh man, I finally beat it. What is this? The final test or something? Because
they really go after you because they give you the final test, then
hidden in the clouds behind the
final test, and then like the final. There's like three levels to it.
But I think that one had a checkpoint after it was like six levels.
Every three or four rooms, you got a checkpoint.
Yeah.
But so that one at least was nice. But man, that one that was a rough one. I don't think it was as rough as Mario Odyssey, in terms of how long it took me. But yeah, it sucks.
It was weird how muscle memory took over in that one. That like you get to the third room before the checkpoint. Like I don't even think about the first two rooms anymore. I was like, okay, duck, jump off the wall, duck, jump, up and over, and then okay, now I gotta get to the room where I gotta pay attention.
You turn into a speed runner when you're doing that.
the spring, whatever room you're bouncing, like with the spring ability, that was my worst one.
Oh yeah, because you're jumping back and forth on the single platforms or bricks, which was not easy, and you're balancing against fire. It's rough.
Ending in the invisibility room was a sick joke. Thank God I beat it on the first try for the invisibility room, because I probably would have thrown something had I lost in that point.
I think I did too. I think when I finally got to it, it just clicked and I did it.
Yeah, I definitely did it in one or two tries. If you're playing with two people, it's a lot easier because you get the crown over your head. So that was nice. The little star. So I learned that after the fact.
Do you enjoy the music in this one? Like more than other Mario games or less than other Mario games? To me, this is huge. Like this comes up on the Nintendo music for my family all the time.
It is good. I think I like the Mario Odyssey music better, but I'd say this one's definitely probably up there in the top 3 in the series. I am a Nintendo music app listener, and this is something I've thrown on before, whether I'm hopping on YouTube at work listening or anything. It's a good one. Just hard to get up there with the new Donk City and things like that for me.
No one can beat Jump Up Superstar. It's okay.
Man, I'd love to see you on Guitar Hero playing that, Dan.
That's what we need.
Or Rock Band.
Yeah, they did their Dance Revolution. It's time to get back into.
That's true. They had that one.
Anyway, all right. Well, on to future games you're looking forward to. You've got 2 you wanted to bring up. One exists, and one, there's hopes and dreams, and you're living your best life. The first is the hope and dream and living your best. No, I'm just kidding. Grand Theft Auto 6 is still due out for this year, allegedly, though the controversies and analysis are all over the place. But GTA 6. Yeah,
since Grand Theft Auto 3, I've played every Grand Theft Auto. I love them. Not just the violence. I think they have fun stories. So looking back on like San Andreas that got remastered, played that. When it got remastered, Grand Theft Auto 4 was great. Grand Theft Auto 5, huge chunk of time that I put into that. Never did the online, but just a great story where they pulled together 3 different characters into one storyline. I thought they did it great. So with what they're trying to do with GTA 6 from the limited things that they've released about it, it looks great. I haven't been let down from them in a bit. Wasn't a big fan of like the Vice City stories. which
do those didn't even count?
yeah.
The
So,
Liberty
but like,
City stories, yeah.
yeah. So, but like in the main timeline of things, the 3, 4, 5, like those are up there, and with how good they are.
What do you want to see from this? From the follow up to the still active game that has everything. Like you want to golf, go ahead. You could golf in. you can go play around a golf at the country club in 5 for all it matters. So, like, what are they going to do? Where are they going to go in to the Smash Ultimate question? Like, okay, now what? Besides, the 5 has survived for 3 consoles now, starting on the PlayStation. You had a PlayStation 3. Guess who was there for you? Grand Theft Auto 5 was. You have PlayStation 5. Guess who's still here for you, buddy? GTA 5.
With I think millions of players, which is still
goes.
Yeah.
For everyone who talks about Skyrim being everywhere, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is everywhere.
Its GDP is higher than most countries, but yes, it's gross domestic product. But anyway, so what do you like now? What?
For me, I enjoy story. So I've never been big into online play. So I never did like GTA 5 online. My online gaming now is Smash Bros, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals. I did like the Call of Duties back in the day. They were a good time. But like when I get these, like I just want to play the story. So I always hope for a good story. So like the last one, they had Michael in it, and they bring in 2 other characters, and the way they were able to blend them together was amazing for me. So getting a good story out of it. And then is this one based in? Are they basing it in Miami?
Yeah, they're well, yeah. So it's Vice City or whatever it is. It's basically like much like okay, this is New York, this is Los Angeles, like this is Miami. Yeah.
So I think the visuals they have already for it looked great. So seeing it on a PlayStation 5, I imagine would look amazing. So I think just I don't think they would do a continuation of anything they've done before. So just a fresh, long like campaign mode. So the open world of missions, things like that, I always think is great. So I think if they're able to couple that, stay true to what they are, like robbing, killing, stealing, things like that. I enjoy in video games because I don't do that in real life. So I guess leave it to the animated characters. But yeah, I think just a good campaign storyline is really what I look for.
And you're on a future game, you want the unannounced 3D Mario platformer whenever that happens. So when this game, do you want it? If it was like a straight just continuation of Odyssey and Cappy was back, would that make you happy?
That would be ideal in my world. Now that is me saying that without knowing what other tricks Nintendo has, because I'm sure if you would ask people like, hey, do you just want the Mario Sunshine follow-up or Galaxy follow-up, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's great, we love it. And then they bring out Odyssey, and it's a whole new world, and it's wild, crazy. So in my mind, yes, I would love Odyssey 2, see what other worlds they can create. But if it was something different, Nintendo's still going to get my money.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Whatever they decide to do with it, I'm gonna. Even if they told me they were gonna do Mario Sunshine 2, I think I'd still end up buying it.
Yeah, and then I'd have to buy the first one and play through that first. So they know what they're doing.
All right, well now on to a question from the Channel 3 history books. And you know what? I'm going to go with this one, actually. I'm going to just tell you, sure, guess what? This is an audio medium, but, you're a man, I think, of gaming tattoos. You got a few. Tell us about some gaming tattoos. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So my left leg is in my left, I guess what would that be, my calf, and around is all, got all my Mario villains on there. So I've got, man, what do we got? We got Bowser. We got Bowser Jr., got Dry Bones, Goomba, Wario, Shy Guy, Waluigi. Got a poison mushroom that turns into a rose that matches with my wife that has the regular mushroom turning into a rose because she's a good person and I am not. But yeah, so I always wanted a tattoo. And I just couldn't decide. I'm like, man, what do I want to get? What do I want to get? And I said, you know what? How about Waluigi? And my artist I went to, he's like, oh, great idea. He's like, let me know when you want to do more. And I'm like, oh, I could do more. I'm an adult with adult money. This is great.
That's right.
So yeah, that just added on. And now it's basically my whole left calf leg, bottom half of my leg is covered. eventually want to get more. Uh, Fun fact about the tattoos: there was a point where he's like, "Oh, you want to like this is a good spot. You could add a piranha plant." It was around the time Ray was really fucking me up in Smash Bros. And I was like, "No, anything but that. Just leave it blank. I'm not going to honor this man that's disrespecting me every other night."
Just spitting on you.
Just so we're clear, I think I'm not going to honor this man who's disrespecting me every other night might be the gift request. We'll see how that goes.
But yeah, so like Nintendo, I love Nintendo. I love the Mario series. I love the wide variety of characters they have, the backstory that a lot of the characters have too. So,
all right, I have to ask one more. Normally we ask one quest. We don't have a quest for this one. You've mentioned your son's name throughout the podcast, though you've not enunciated it to explain the spelling differences as compared to the titular villain in question. But tell us about that.
Yeah. So 2018, late 2018, early 2019, we found out.
Let's see, you better know this. Yeah, that's.
I was trying to add up the months because he was born in September, so it'd be close. So we'll say 2019. So we find out Tiffany's pregnant, and we're excited, and we're like, well, we got to think of names. I will tell you, she did not want Bowser, Waluigi, or Wario.
I can't imagine why.
Some women don't get it, man. I don't get it. And I was like, well, what about Ganon? She was like, Ganon. I was like, yeah. And we did change up the name. So there's two N's, so Gannon instead of Ganon. But it was between that and Brennan. And at our baby shower, we did this cute little vote thing where you could vote for the name, and Brennan won. We had the baby, and Tiffany's like, I really like Ganon. I was like, me too. But now that has turned into any time Ganon decides to be bad, I'm reminded that I named my son after a villain. So I've got that hanging over my head whenever he decides to act up. So, but yeah.
Now, when you pitched the name Ganon, was she aware where that was coming from, or did you pitch it like, hey, this is a normal sounding name?
100%. So she, during COVID, she was there when we're playing Smash Bros. And for those that don't know, Lazy Pie, big fan of Ganon Dittos.
That's true.
So there'd be nights that'd be like, all right, Ganon only arena. So we'd be Ganondorf. So then I told her, like, hey, we should name this baby Ganon. She told me some things I could go do. But in the end, love wins. So now I have Ganon. It's a great thing to talk to Greg about. If I'm like, yeah, real nice, your gamer tag's about defeating my son. And he's game for it too, because he's such a good guy. But yeah, so that's, I don't know, I guess just, I sympathize with villains. So I try to be a good guy, but I feel like we're all bad guys deep down. So it's a great name. It fits him. So it makes me very happy that he has a video game name. My name's Josh. It's a very basic name. So Josh, Dan. I won't go into Ray's government name. I don't know if that's out there.
I'm a guy who named both of his kids after the kids' grandparents. We're like, they're both the parents. There we go. Okay, we're good.
We need to honor the family. The family.
But my son asks, my son's always asks, like, what if my sister was a boy, and like, I think we had a name for that. Like, what if you had two girls? I'm like, I have no idea what the second girl would have been named. We never just like never crossed our mind what would have happened. We were out of
Rosalina.
Names.
I don't know. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do aspire for the game that he's like, oh, I want to play a Zelda game. Oh wait, sorry, I want to play a Link game. For all the Zelda enjoyers out there. So playing the Link games, and he gets to the part where Ganon is there, and he's just gonna be like, is that me? So that's really what I'm looking forward to down the road.
Oh man! And last question: what's been your favorite feature on Channel 3?
Yeah, I do enjoy Channel 3, especially since we've got the app now, the web browser, and then Joel's new layout that he put out there. I'm a big fan. My favorite feature, I was going to say quests, but now that you guys are prepared for that, I'm going to switch it up. I love the clubs. big fan of the clubs. So the quests are great. So I'm going to give you two now, I guess. The quests are great. They really allow you to get involved. So like there's quests out there that you guys will put out for free games that I'm like, I would never play this, but I'll see something and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? It might make me pick up an old game, might make me throw something on for a couple minutes, try it out. So things like that I really like. But the clubs, I think the clubs are great. I aspire to have a club of my own someday. But just the way you can find people that are similar in your life or playing similar games, whether it is religious or just strictly games, there's something out there for everybody that you can feel welcome and be a part of something.
And on that note, we made it to the end of another What Are Your Three. Thank you, Josh, for being with us. You can find the podcast at c3.gg/podcast, dropping every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all the major platforms, including Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Ray. Dan puts this all together. Our theme song is by Caster Garden. And for our executive producer, Joel Willis. Have a good day, everybody.
Channel 3 is the future.